What led to the Lindner phenomenon? Was there a life-changing event? Cosmic forces in play? Did destiny play a role?
Unfortunately, I mentioned this once, I'm a little bit like Forrest Gump. Remember the guy in the movie who just happened to be wherever the action was going down? I'm Forrest Gump. The modern angling revolution started with Buck Perry and Carl Lawrence. These two men combined to produce the two elements that the modern angling revolution needed. One, the idea that fish relate to a certain type of underwater element, and Carl Lawrence with the depth finder, they are the linchpins. They are the foundation of the modern angling revolution. And we happen to, like I said, like Forrest Gump, I was there. I met these guys, I knew them in the breaking days, and I just happened to be there.
The simple fact is, Ron and Al's family fished on the same lakes as the pioneers of modern fishing.
These were older guys, kind of like my heroes in the area. And I remember seeing them, I'd kind of watch with them with binoculars out on the lake where they were fishing. And they'd come in with all these massive stringers of fish, get pictures and stick them in all the bait shops around, and I would drool. So I went from spoon plugging to jig worming to using spinner baits. You know, this is 35 years ago. And the methods of fishing and movements of fish, this is where it was all birthed before it spread across the country. And what many of us take for granted today actually started in Chicago, of all cities.
Al became a magnet for collecting information.
But the realization came to me at a young age, luck has nothing to do with fishing. You can make that luck happen. There is a rhyme, there's a reason these fish do certain things that become somewhat predictable. Couldn't gather enough knowledge. It was like a sponge. There was anything that had anything to do with fishing and fishing information, we were sucking it up.
Ron was more fascinated with the gadgets of fishing.
But I always had an inventive streak. I loved the tackle business all those years. We used to try new paints. I used to love the tackle business. I love tinkering to make fish bite.
In the 1960s, the Lindners moved to Brainerd, Minnesota, a small town coming into its own as a tourist destination. Surrounded by literally hundreds of fertile lakes, it was a breeding ground for experimental angling and a fertile environment for Ron's inventive personality.
You gotta understand, nobody originates purely anything. You're always building on someone that came before you.
Ron had an idea for a unique walking sinker connected to a snell with a small hook. The problem was, they needed an investor.
They had said $50,000. I said, you go out and raise $250,000 worth of orders and we'll jump on it. So they came back with $250,000. They did their part. So I'd asked my parents if they would mortgage their home for $50,000, and we started a company in the back of a bait shop called Lindy.
And the Lindy rig was born.
The Lindy rig itself is as synonymous to live bait rigging as Kleenex is to facial tissue. So when somebody thinks about a Lindy rig, or if they're Lindy rigging, that's essentially a slip sinker and a snell and a hook. And that's the kind of persona that the Lindners have created and left their mark in the industry.
I did invent, I did the Lindy rig, the original Lindy rig. Now later I did the no snag sinker. The modern, the splash guards that you see on boats, that's ours. Back trolling is ours as a system. Al developed it. It's developed right on this lake in back of me. Did it right out there.
So with a tackle company in place, with Ron inventing lures and Al putting them into practice, their first television show, The Facts of Fishing, was an instant hit.
The Facts of Fishing. With tournament angler, sports writer, and guide, Al Lindner. Each week, Al will take you into his world of fishing and show you the professional tricks and step-by-step methods he uses to take bass, walleye, northern pike, crappie, muskie, and trout under the same conditions that you encounter on your favorite lake.
One of the best ways to do this is by trolling. You can cover one heck of a lot of water quickly and effectively by this method. And a big muskie tandem spinner is ideal for this system of fishing.
Jeff Zernoff was one of their first employees.
And it was hardcore factual information about the biology, the geography, the fish nature. You know, it was just totally radical.
Different line weights and types of line that can be used to success on each fishing trip. This is what your musky fishermen commonly call a jerk bait.
They have the whole attitude when they went into their TV show. They didn't want to, you know, Bill and Bob fishing, catching bass, and having a good time. No, they just wanted to be in your face and just shock you and just, what did I just see? Because they always want to be cutting edge, the edge. I mean, they always want to be cutting edge and out there and pioneering new ground.
In print and on TV, the concept that you could change your luck resonated with anglers and fueled the growth that would become a fishing empire.
The purpose in every television show that we ever did, strength has always been education, from day one to where we are today, to help people learn how to catch more fish. And a lot of that happens in the packaging, naturally, how you package the show and the information. But our strong point is helping people to learn how to catch more fish. That's our strength. That's what we do best. We've done it from the first show we did to the shows we do today.
This week's Unravel the Mysteries of Dark Water Bass Fishing with the original in-fisherman Al Lindner. Fish for slab crappies through a frozen North Country lake in the dead of night.
In the mid-1980s, facts of fishing evolved into the In-Fisherman, with nationwide syndication and 3 magazine titles. Lindy Tackle had become so profitable, it was sold off to investors. Ron and Al settled into unique and complementary roles.
The Ron and Al relationship is very synergistic. They're not 2 separate individuals. They're 2 individuals that have a 1 and 1 is 3. I mean, you get way more than 2 people when they start collaborating. They feed off each other's energy and intellect. And I've seen tremendously creative thoughts, things that are outside of the square box that people would never consider, brought about in discussions between these 2 individuals.
Ron and I have been blessed in our relationship over the years. We learned a long time ago that give and take, using each other's strong points.
Part of our mission statement says that we will even suffer wrong and financial loss rather than to besmirch the good name that we tried to give. That's part of our corporate culture.
Tackle manufacturers found this combination hard to beat.
When you talk about key opinion leaders and guys that have truly gone out there and fished and never pumped their chest out, these are just real human beings that just are motivated to catch fish. And they're of huge value for all of us within the industry, no matter if it's outboards, it's boats, it's trolling motors, electronic. In our case, it happens to be lures, Rapala lures.
But there was a fly in the ointment. As successful as it had become, Al and Ron were the In-Fishermen. They needed to find a way to give the franchise legs.
Not the big open water, cold water trout and salmon fishery areas, but the bays and rivers and canals and inlets.
So, they brought a new generation of fishing experts to camera. Magazine writers like Dan Sura and Dave Sanda became regulars on the show. And a new talent had emerged from the production department.
Because of location, the fish, muskies, do not like current. And in with that, in a river.
For me, neither one of my boys have the passion for fishing that I had. And the only one that I can pass that passion on to that has it is my nephew, Jim.
Is it good fish, Jim?
This fish is active. Watch this.
Oh, that was beautiful. I love it. I love it.
So he is and when I look at him, this is who everything that I've learned, I got to hand off to him. He's the only one that I could see myself back in years that is able to take that ball and run with it.
Al and Ron had set the table for a company that could succeed. For the next 15 years, the In-Fishermen would experience stability and growth. In a move no one expected, The In Fisherman was sold in 1998 to a big New York publishing company, Primedia Publications.
Companies like In Fisherman were in demand. But I think even more so important is they probably took it as far as they could and as far as they wanted to. They built the finest fishing organization in the world, quite frankly, and probably had peaked in their minds as to how much further can we go.
But the Lindner story didn't end with the sale of In Fisherman. In many ways, that was just the beginning.